Hi, and welcome back to
Inspired to Game. I'm Sean.
And I'm Lola. If you like what you see here, please support our channel by subscribing down below.
And if you've already subscribed, thank you very much. And how about throwing us a like?
Today we are talking about the new release, Power Plants. This is a game all about creating beautiful gardens of richness and potiony power. Potiony power, because that's a thing. You play wizards and you are cultivating a plot together, working together, but yet vying for the best spots. It is at heart an area control game, folks. We'll show you a quick overview of how it's played.
You start each game of Power Plants by selecting 5 plant types to use and putting one patch from each of them in the beginning tableau. You will draw 3 patches randomly from the bag to form a nursery, and each player will draw 2 random patches from the bag to form their beginning hand. If at any point they ever have the same 2 patch types, they can trade one of them with one from the nursery. Now on each turn, a player will select 1 patch from their hand to put onto the board and put the wizard meeple on top of it to indicate which one it is. Now they have a choice. They can either use the sprout power of the patch that they're putting down, or they can use the grow power of each patch adjacent to the patch they're putting in. Now these powers will give you the ability to put out sprites. You can remove your opponent's sprites. Some of them will allow you to place gems on patches or gain them into your own supply as part of endgame scoring. Once your turn is over, you will take the wizard meeple off and pass it to the next player and draw another patch from the bag to bring your hand back up to 2. This continues until the last patch is taken from the bag. The player announces to everyone that it is the last one, and that begins the last round of turns. So game scoring is determined by gems that you've collected during the game, gems on patches your sprites control at the end of the game, as well as who has majority in fields, a field being any adjacent number of plants of the same type.
Power Plants is a fantastic puzzly game. We had a lot of fun with this. We played it a number of times, playing through different plants and different combinations to get a really good feel for it. One thing that I really love is, so you have your 2 tiles. You can use either one. If they happen to be the same, you can exchange one with the nursery, so you're never stuck with one variety. You can use their sprout actions, which are the more powerful actions individually speaking, or you can use the grow actions of the other tiles that are out in your tableau. The grow actions are less powerful individually, but when you combine them together, so if you're putting your patch in where you have 3 or 4 other patches around it, now suddenly that action gets really powerful to do the grow actions. It's really fun to find that balance of when to grow or when to sprout based on what is strategically your most powerful move within the puzzle. And I find that delicious.
Yeah, and another great part about the plants is that there are 10 different types, at least in the Kickstarter Deluxe Edition. 10 different types of plants, each of them with an alternate. So you have 20 plants to choose from, each of them with a different power, allowing you to do things with your sprites or gems. Some of them let you actually put patches on top of other patches and form fields vertically instead of horizontally, and it's just a great variety of things to play with. And like Lola said, with the different powers, is like this. I in this case, I love this sprout power. It's going to do a lot of good things for me here. But over on this side of the board, that same token might not be so great, but everything you're going to put it next to would really add up and do great things for you with all their grow powers. So just a lot of, and that's where the puzzling comes into. Each turn is kind of a logic puzzle of what do I put, where do I put it, and do I sprout or do I grow?
Yeah, and because of that, there is a certain amount of analysis paralysis that can happen between turns because there are so many options, because not only do you have all the different options of the places where you can place your patch, but then there's the choice of, do you grow or do you sprout? And very often you have to run through those different possibilities in through your head to decide what's going to be the most profitable move for you that turn. So it makes it really dynamic in that way. But yeah, turns can be long sometimes, and we've only played it 2-player, so there is that. But it wasn't too long. It did keep at a good pace at the same time. As far as those different varieties that Sean mentioned, there are alternates, but the alternates are very close in actions to the other plants. So they just increase the variety a little bit. And it is a nice part of the game that you can have different plants each time you play. So it makes it a different play. And there's 3 different types, as you mentioned. So there's morning, there's afternoon, there's evening. The evening plants tend to be more confrontational based, which is an interesting part as well. So you can have a game that's largely not terribly confrontational, or you can have one that's a lot more. So you can have a greater amount of player interaction based on your desires there. There's even one plant that allows you to steal and put in jail your partner's sprites, and they never get them back.
Not in jail. They were eaten by my flytrap-like thing.
Yeah. So there is a good amount of player interaction with this game too. There's a lot of push and pull. I add my sprites, he takes them off, and variety back and forth. So the interaction with it is nice, with still dealing with the puzzle. So it's not just you building your own separate little tableau, you're working together on one, and sometimes there's a fight over some of the more juicy spots, because as the patches grow to larger amounts, they gain in value exponentially. It's a lot more beneficial to have a 7-patch area field than a 2. It'll garner you much more points, and that's the whole point of the game, is that area control and is your final score.
And another great thing, I like the timing of the game, in that everybody that reaches into that bag to pull out their next patch to replace the one that they just played is going to feel roughly how many patches are left. So it's not going to be a big surprise. It is a certain number of turns based on the number of patches in the bag, and if you're paying attention as you pull them out, you know how close you are to the end game. It's not a surprise if somebody goes, "Hey, the last patch is out," and you're like, "What? But I had all these plans that I can't do now. Oh no!" It's like, So I like games that have that kind of timing. It's not the surprise.
It's true.
Boom, game is over now. But that's actually something I did notice, and I think at least in a 2-player game, the person that pulls that last patch out is also going to be the last person to have a turn. So that last turn can have a lot of power to it. The advantage to the people that go before that is, if that last player or a player that's behind them in turn order removes any of their sprites from the board, they actually get points for that in the form of gems. So in a 2-player game, if I'm ending the game and taking that last turn, if I remove any of Lola's sprites, she's getting 2 gems per sprite that I remove. So that also kind of lends itself into that strategy of, what am I going to do in my last turn that's going to give me more points than it's going to give you?
Yeah. Well, and another interesting part about strategy is there's a bit of vying for the 3-spot locations. So sometimes when you're placing a patch, you're placing it and in such a way that it's only adjacent to 2 patches. But the juicy spots, at least for the grow action, is to get it adjacent to 3 patches. And when those 3 patch places, that felt like a tongue twister, are placed, we vie for it, and we try not to create them for each other either, because they let you do 3 actions when you place a patch within there. So there's a bit of vying for the juicy spots. Yeah, there's certainly a lot of interaction. One thing I love about the game is it's beautiful. The artwork is beautiful. The tiles are really lovely as well. I love all the colors. So if you get the deluxe edition that has the wooden tiles, it's fantastic. Wooden tiles are just very satisfying to play with. It's nice if you could get the sprites that are all different little shapes. If you get the retail version, it's just going to have wooden cubes, which is fine as well. But it does make a nice little addition having all that. We purchased ours with the playmat as well, which I'm very grateful for, because it does add to the game, to have that framework for your growing garden to grow within. One thing to note is it does say, as far as choosing your 5 plants, that you can draw them randomly or you can choose them. It suggests a certain amount that you're going to want to have, at least at the beginning, for balance, a certain amount of your morning and afternoon and night ones. Your mornings allow you to put out your extra sprites, whereas the night ones tend to be a little bit more, have more of the take that and moving things around or removing things. So you do want to, at least for your first games, have some mornings so that you're able to put out those sprites. So it's good to use the recommended cards in order to get the proper balance, at least until you become like an expert at the game and can do it with just about anything. So yeah,
it would certainly be a very different game if you have, say, only one plant that's going to allow you to put out sprites, and everything else is just based on the scoring of moving things around, depending on how many sprites are that you're moving or moving next to. If there aren't any sprites ever going out or very rarely going out, it will be a very different game.
Yeah, and the nice thing is because of the freedom of choosing your plants, you can choose the ones that are your favorite. Now you can randomly draw. Now you do it however you want to do it. If you like a puzzly game, I think you might really enjoy this one, especially if you like plant themes, lots of colorful games. It's a really fun game. This is it was really exciting to play. I love the puzzle of it. If you've played it, let us know what you thought in the comments below. We would love to hear that, and that's nice to share with everybody else as well.
Well, thank you very much for tuning in, and check out some of our other videos.
Thanks very much, and happy gaming, folks.
Happy gaming.